But everybody watching and listening, please allow me to welcome Jess Dove London to the Parkinson's Disease Education Podcast live recording. And we are going to be talking today about the Turnto app. And I'm really excited to have Jess as a guest tonight. Tonight, I say tonight, in the US it's tonight. Where Jess is tomorrow, the 8th of August. And I'm not sure exactly what time it is, but I know it's daytime. So
Lunchtime.
it is lunchtime. Great. That sounds nice. So Jess is from Australia and very gracious with her time to be here for this podcast recording, and I really appreciate that. So I wanted to open up by letting you, Jess, just tell us a little bit about your story from the beginning of, going back to your son and everything, and kind of what led you into this mission that's kind of become this wonderful app.
Thanks, Michael. Really excited to be here and very excited about the Parkinson's community because our mobile app is about to go live in the next few weeks, and we're actually opening up to beta, so early testers as of yesterday, which is exciting and scary. But on the personal
Yes.
level of like why, before we even get into what it is, so I have a wonderful 9-year-old who, when he was quite young, was diagnosed with a rare type of cerebral palsy. Interestingly, it's really similar to Parkinson's. He actually has dyskinetic cerebral palsy, which is he has dyskinesia and he has dystonia. And so I actually have a real personal interest in Parkinson's. I've read lots of Parkinson's research over the years, and I actually know some of our leading specialists themselves always look to Parkinson's as a space of like potential answers for our son. So that's kind of my personal interest, but not why I started Turn2. So would you like me to share a bit about that, Michael?
Yes, please. That'd be great. I guess I had, maybe I misunderstood, but I kind of feel like that was your, at least initially, was kind of the driving force behind why you thought this app would be helpful to everybody.
Yeah. So I guess the why and the what we've built is so when my son was 18 months old and he was given his diagnosis, I went along to the appointment. I actually had a big wad of research because I kind of knew things were going on. He was doing really well. He'd come out of a long time in ICU. We knew he had some health issues, but he was just this ball of life and was doing, exceedingly well, but had some challenges. So I went along to his appointment and the doctor diagnosed him and said to us, there's nothing you can do to help him. Don't even bother reading that research. Good luck, goodbye. And, you've got to work this out on your own. And really early on, I did what lots of people do. Maybe when you get these really big diagnoses, is you just go, what can I do? Like, can I do things now? And like, what's the cutting edge treatment that we could try to help him? And really early on, we tried a treatment that was really safe, but we just found it myself pretty randomly. And he couldn't sit at all. He used to lie on the floor, and we tried this full bodysuit thing, which was pretty weird to try. So like, why are we trying this? This other family had told us about it, and he instantly sat, and we took it all off, and he actually sat from that moment onwards. And so it was a pretty overwhelming experience that we had uncovered a really big treatment. And at the time, I knew very little about movement disorders, but I went on this massive journey where for years I read every paper, hounded every Facebook group, met every person I could, clinician, world leader, and we just kept finding more things that could help him. And I just stumbled across this massive problem where when you have a serious condition, it is very hard to stay on top of cutting edge knowledge. And it actually means that you're missing out as well on things that can improve your quality of life today. And, there's many reasons for this problem, but really, I believe this cutting edge knowledge is actually like a living thing. It's living often in patients, in carers. It's living with world leading researchers, how they're having these behind the, door conversations about what they're most excited about. But it's really, really hard to know what is happening and what you can be doing today, in a few months' time.
Yeah, that's great. And I remember from a previous conversation that we had that whenever you were looking for information or options for treatment for your son, you kind of at times would hit resistance I guess that's my words, but you kind of hit a barrier of resistance with certain practitioners who you were speaking with. What was that like for you, and what can you talk a little bit more about that for a second?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard, like when you aren't a medical professional, to be negotiating these things. You don't really know the lay of the land for a very long time. And, you don't know who to always go to with your questions or who might have different perspectives. So all through the journey, I definitely have had different pushback or not being shown things or a lot of resistance when we've asked a lot of questions. We've also found amazing health professionals at the same time. I think it's definitely been a both experience. We have found leading clinicians who are very open-minded, curious, and aware of cutting-edge things. And we've also found other people who, just haven't been interested or been able to go on that journey or had the knowledge. Really, it's very hard to stay on top of everything for healthcare professionals themselves, but definitely had a few interesting stories of big resistance or just being made to feel like a really stupid, like, why would you be asking that? And then you come across a world leader later on and they're like very affirming and you're like, wow, okay, it's worth it. This is, call it my son's life. It's worth it.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads into my next question a little bit, what you're talking about with that. And I actually meant to wear the shirt tonight and just realized I didn't. I wore it earlier today, and I did even a live earlier today with it on, and I ate spaghetti tonight, so I didn't want to get red sauce all over me. But the shirt I'm talking about is actually one that for in support of the app. It says "Stop Medical Gaslighting," and in your eyes, you kind of alluded to this already, but in your terms, how would you describe medical gaslighting to anybody watching who doesn't really understand that term?
Great question. I think it's a term I hadn't heard about, honestly, until quite recently. It's a very,
Same, same.
yeah, right. And I think it's not trying to be, it's a strong saying, definitely. But the idea is really like when you go and you experience something in your health and you go and look for help and answers, and you're actually made to feel like, one, you're not given the support you need, but you're also more than that, often ignored, and, not given the immediate answers that you need. And I don't, yeah, it's not definitely not a slogan that we are saying against medical professionals. It's actually just acknowledging that complex health conditions, you're often not given the support you need and you really have to fight for it. And that's really unfortunate. But it just is across so many people's experiences. In our app, we are currently in cerebral palsy, and even in that space, you would assume that there is this sort of leaning in from medical professionals and wanting to go on these journeys. But I probably have 3 dozen stories of, just blatant disbelief when new symptoms come up, and then it's very difficult because you're like, I'm not making this up. This is what I'm seeing, and then you have to start filming things and collecting evidence. And right from the beginning for us, we were told it's not this, it's not that. He's fine, and he was deaf when they didn't listen to me, but he was deaf. All these really big things that were
Yeah.
like, I'm not overly anxious. I'm just seeing things, and I want help. Like, that was all the whole experience. So yeah, that's where the saying comes from our patient communities themselves, who are feeling these big things, and sometimes going to their medical professionals with questions, and actually just not being listened to or being, having that sort of partnership to be curious about new things that are happening.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it, I think. And I would also piggyback on that by saying that for those of you watching and listening, if you're at a medical especially with Parkinson's, since we're kind of talking about that specifically, if you're at a physician appointment and you're bringing up symptoms that you're experiencing, and that particular practitioner says, Parkinson's doesn't cause that. That can't be what it is. Well, it might be. And so if you're having a dismissive response like that, I mean, but let's say that they're right, for example, for a particular symptom, they should at least tell you why it couldn't be. But I can tell you from experience of knowing people with Parkinson's that have had these things said to them at physicians' offices, that a lot of times the physician is wrong, that those symptoms are tied with Parkinson's and they just haven't researched it. So, for example, pain, something that's a misconception is that pain is not a symptom of Parkinson's disease, which is absolutely not the truth. And so I've actually heard patients I've treated say that they were told that pain is not a symptom of Parkinson's or neuropathy, which is a completely ignorant thing to say. So that's an example of medical gaslighting as well.
100%. I think that's actually one of the primary experiences is you are feeling something and you're told, no, that's not part of it. But then you're often not offered anything even to go and investigate that other thing. And I think you can just be felt very, like you can feel very alone in that experience and confused because you ultimately want better health. And, you know, what if there is a treatment that can help that symptom or someone else is finding something that's helping pain or, yeah, you're missing out on all that stuff you could access.
Right. We actually had a question from the live chat I wanted to address really quickly. Patricia is watching live and asked, and this is more a question for me, I suppose, but she said, could you tell me if there's a test for Parkinson's, as my sister has never been tested and she's in assisted living and falling many times, had a reaction to live polio serum at 9 years old and in assisted living. Yeah, so she said that twice. Patricia, in answer to your question briefly, there are a couple of different diagnostic tests for Parkinson's. The most common one that we have available, especially in the US, and I'm sure in other countries, is the DAT scan, or dopamine transporter molecule scan is what they're looking for. Essentially, it's an MRI test where they have a radioactive dye in the brain and they're seeing how much dopamine is being absorbed by the dopamine receptors in the specific areas of the brain that we're looking at, where the dopamine transporter molecule is active. And so they can, it's called the so-called the comma sign. When you have a very specific lit up area that looks like a shape of a comma, that's normal because it should be lit up if there's a plentiful dopamine transporter molecule. But if there isn't, and it's much thinner or smaller or less lit up, then that's considered a positive test. At the very least, it's for a test, or at the very least, it's positive for showing that there's a dopamine issue. And then one of the newer tests out there is called the SYN1 test, which is one that's, I think it was developed by a lab in the US, if I'm not mistaken. It looks for alpha synuclein protein in the nerve tissues in 3 areas in the body. It's neck, thigh, and ankle, I believe. And so it's basically looks at the peripheral nerve tissues and sees that there's alpha synuclein deposits found and compares those 3 areas. You'll have to look up the details a little bit more, but the one thing I can tell you briefly, lastly, is that Michael J. Fox Foundation published information recently about a new biomarker test for alpha synuclein, that same protein I mentioned, and they're looking at cerebrospinal fluid versus skin biopsy test. So not that anybody wants to get poked in the spine, but especially if it's early diagnosis, that could be very important. So in other words, it could be something that's tested prior to knowledge of the disease. That's what's kind of revolutionary about that one. So hope that answers your question. Thank you for asking. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Very useful.
Why? My next question was going to be, well, I guess I'll answer this or ask this next question first. I guess the timing wise, why Parkinson's disease and why now? As far as adding it to the app, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess to give the sort of real basics is we built a mobile app last year where every single day we find new health breakthroughs for patients. And so when you come through, you actually get to pick a bunch of topics you're interested in. And then every day you'll get a mix of content types. You'll get new papers, clinical trial information, questions from the crowd. excerpts from experts like yourself, like even that answer you just gave, imagine how many people don't actually know the answer to that. Um, and a mix of that content every single day. And that's kind of the initial product. So we went live with cerebral palsy and we just immediately saw people coming back time and time again. We went live 3 weeks ago to long COVID and now Parkinson's. And the reason why is just we reached out to some people in Parkinson's and immediately got a lot of feedback on the value that this would be, this giving people this ability to stay on top. Because the two things you can get from the app immediately is the ability to stay on top of what's happening and also getting new ideas. And so we really want to support communities that have high impact on quality of life because, you know, I know the reality of that and just how important cutting edge and a breakthrough health information is. And this is not just medications. This is any breakthrough health information that's that puzzle piece that you might be looking for. And being someone with lived experience versus a health professional, or even, you know, cutting edge leading health professionals, there's so much dimension to what improves quality of life. It's not just medication. It can be tips and tricks. It can be support with sleep. It can be a whole bunch of things that you just need help with at different times in your journey. But it's the whole spectrum really that I think is important.
Yeah, that's great. And that sounds like you kind of answered my other question already, which was kind of how the Turn2 works and where the information comes from. So essentially, you kind of summarized that. You're getting those daily updates and kind of notifications on a daily basis when you sign up for those specific diagnoses. I think, and you may have said this already, I apologize if I missed it, but did you say that, that basically it's kind of like little forums on the app, correct?
So it's more around content. It's about thinking of this
Content.
as like getting new content all the time on things that matter to you. But in
Okay.
that, there's a, you know, about 50% of that's coming from real people, like patients in the community. And so
Right.
there's discussions underneath posts as well. Yeah, versus we intentionally didn't want to be another Facebook group. We think they're actually amazing for those who use them. The difference is that Facebook groups aren't built to like further promote you finding a health breakthrough, even though you probably find some of them there. Often, this, but the difference with us is we just bring all the perspectives in one place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Is I think you kind of alluded to this, but is it kind of gleaned from, I guess the information that's posted, is that gleaned from different resources and then put on the app, or are there specific, in other words, is it gleaned from here, there, and everywhere, or are there very specific resources that are continuously being posted?
Great question. So there's definitely all the content that's coming from the world of Parkinson's. So the new research, the new trials, new podcasts, new resources, that's coming through every single day from reliable resources, reliable spaces. But then the user generated content and the expert generated content is actually just generated every day. People are sharing these things and we're capturing them. So there's two different
Got it.
sources. Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of two wings to it. One is kind of vetted sources, and one is a little bit more input from users. Okay.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So I guess a burning question I have, which I kind of know the answer to, but I don't remember off the top of my head the dates. When is the Parkinson's version of the community release?
So we are actually just started beta, and what that means is we have a few people
You said
coming
that.
in
Yes.
testing, but we are. So if you're watching this right now, you can actually sign up to the wait list, and every Sunday you'll start getting our weekly on top, which is like an easy way to not miss out of anything that's happening across the Parkinson's world. But on the 21st of August, the app will be live for everybody. So you can come in and you can be an early user and give us your feedback because we really are building this to help every person find better health breakthroughs, and we build for the community, which is really, really fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. Um, I guess could you walk us through briefly? Actually, I guess a follow-up question to what you just said. I could put it in the live chat. did you have a well, you can get the app on the App Store or wherever you get your apps from on your phone. But as far as the beta testing, is there a specific website people need to go to or anything like that?
Yeah, so we can put that up in the well, there's a waitlist page where you can go and sign up.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so from that you can actually reply and actually say if you would like to be a beta user. I don't. We can also put a link in here if this is going to be put up on the YouTube
yes,
channel, so
yes,
people can sign up. But we would love some more beta users, 100%. If you're passionate about Parkinson's and you have sort of that hard-earned wisdom, like we would actually love
yeah.
to get you in really early, and so we can build with you.
Great. It is that something I can put in the chat now, or is it too long to type out?
Yeah, I can just put it through on here.
If you want to, would it help to have a screen share on your end?
Yeah, I can do. Do you mean of the app?
Yeah, would that if that would be helpful, that might be something that, well, I'll put the website in the chat, but also, oh, perfect, thank you. Let me do that. I'm gonna put that real quick on the YouTube. Okay, okay, y'all, I'm gonna put this in the live stream chat on YouTube. So it's waitlist.
Turnto.ai slash
Dot
Parkinson's.
Turnto.ai/Parkinson's. And I'll do my best to put that in the I'm looking sideways on the camera because the chat is sideways because I had to broadcast from the phone. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Yeah, waitlist.turn2.ai. Yeah, I think that turned out fine. So, but yeah, I thought that might be helpful for anybody that happens to be watching a video format. Maybe for a minute we can look at the. I'll make you a co-host so we can screen share.
I can actually just come in and I'll come in on my phone. So if you accept me in, let me just open up. If you accept me, I'll come in as a separate person. You can look.
I can do that. Yeah, it says you just joined, so I think we're okay.
Great, I've just disconnected. Great, so I'll just open up and show everybody the core experience. I'll open up our long COVID community that's gone live just recently, and I'll share one of the core experiences, which is the daily drop. So every day you can get new posts on topics that matter to you. And yeah, it is a really quick, easy experience. And also just for those watching, who maybe aren't into mobile as much, the product is available on iPad, and we are actually launching some web products as well in the next sort of 1 to 2 months, because we know how important web is, and how different people really prefer using that as well. So I'll just share my screen.
That's great.
Oh, I think you do need to now make this iPhone the co-host, and I can share.
Oh, yes, I can do that. Yep. Okay, you should be fine now.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, great. It should be on now. Great. Can you see that, Michael?
Let's see. It's showing up now, yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to open up the app, and I have already done my daily drop. So when you haven't done your daily drop, you actually have a big play button, but because I've done it, it says view again. So I'll just view this again so you can actually see the core experience. So the first thing is, if you look at the top of this, it's a little bit like TikTok, but don't be worried. It's just a flick up. It's not as crazy as TikTok. But if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see there's a bunch of posts. So this is something we do every day. We have a poll about something where you can learn about something, you can see results, and you can actually get an insight from a recent paper that's been published. So this is just a way as a crowd and a community we can learn together. Then we have questions from the crowd where people ask questions, and you can see at the top, you actually get to choose. You can be de-identified or use your real name. but you actually get a better sense of who people are. We have reviews of treatment. So in this particular example, I'm actually following that particular treatment. And if I click on that button at the bottom of the page, I can now see all of this content. This is a medication that's used in long COVID, and I can see all the perspectives, research, questions, videos, reviews, and actually see everything in one place as things are coming up. So back to the drop. Every day or whenever new clinical trials come up, you can actually learn about them. The interesting thing with clinical trials is you may actually not live near or qualify, but what we try to do here is we actually try and explain why this trial is interesting, because that's actually where you can learn and be like, oh, that's interesting. This is something I could be accessing or not be accessing. The next thing we do is we have user-generated content. We really try and support people with mental health. So this is just someone sharing something that keeps them going, which we all know is part of these health journeys. We have resources that are shared. So this is the person sharing a resource. We have this is actually an expert who's a leading PT answering questions. Every day we have a different expert in the app. And we also have research. So every single day we share a new research paper that's recently been published. What's it about? What did they find? What does it mean? And how reliable is this? So it's actually unbelievable how much research is published, and it can be very overwhelming, but we try and give people these snippets, and then you are done for the day. And then again, the next day, you'll have a new drop that you can do, but you can also come in a few times a week and actually catch up on what you've missed. Probably the other part is you can come to the home page. As you can see, you can scroll, but you can actually choose different perspectives. If you just want to read what's recent research this week, what questions are people asking this week, you can actually see all of that in here. And we also have a search experience where you can also, this is a popular topic in long COVID, and you can actually see all of the different information on that topic. So again, we really want to bring in perspectives. I believe as a health consumer, as a patient myself, I really believe I want context and perspective rather than vanilla health information. You want to know all the different tricky parts about decisions and then make the best decision you can. You don't want to just hear the, that you know all about this, Michael.
Right. This is great information, and I love that you were able to show that on there. I just think it's so cool, the concept of basically being able to have all this at your fingertips on a daily basis instead of doing all of this, Google searching and online research and having to digest this randomized controlled trial or this case report or this paper.
That's right.
I mean, if you can go to PubMed and find really good information sometimes, but you're having to literally read research papers instead of essentially having it broken down like this on the app. So I think that's truly fantastic, and I can't wait to start using it myself too.
Yay!
Because those of you watching may not know this, but I'm actually going to be doing some of the Ask Me Anything as a Parkinson's expert on the app. I'm so super excited to do that, and contributing any other way I can, of course. So I want to address a couple of your questions too. I'm not ignoring you, I promise. Steve H asked about any info on ATP and tyrosine hydroxylase. Probably won't have time to go into that on this video, but I will do research on that for a future video, I promise. And Amanda said she just got on the chat. Welcome, Amanda. Thanks for being here. And she said she had a question, if at all possible. Yes, definitely. It's definitely possible. I could open this up for an official Q&A in just a minute for Jess. I want to double check. I didn't have any other notes I wanted to ask questions about. But I think that was about it. We really covered a lot already in the last 37 minutes. Actually, a little less than 37. I guess we got on about 5 after, but yes. Yeah, I'm not sure what Amanda's question is. I'll tell you what, let's wrap up with an official Q&A. Probably the next, let's say, 6 or 7 minutes. That sound okay to you, Jess?
Sounds great.
Wait, hold on a second. Is this okay? I'm just say drop your questions here. I'll just say any questions about turn two. And we'll see what we come up with here. Yeah, so while we're waiting for questions to drop in, how's the weather in Australia today?
It's good. It's good. It's winter here, so not as hot as you guys are having it, but it gets very hot here. So, I mean, it's out of interest actually related to Parkinson's. Is heat something that's quite tricky for some people to negotiate?
It definitely is.
Mm.
I had a troll on the channel a few months ago basically berate me about how I know nothing about Parkinson's, and I'm not stupid. If it's hot, I just go in the house. And I'm just like, it's just not that simple. um, I don't know if that person actually has Parkinson's or not. But anyway, that is not something that's just made up.
Mm.
It's particularly so. Let me back up a second. So just to summarize, and those of you that are familiar with the channel and all the information we do on the podcast, you probably have heard this before if you've been listening for a while. But Parkinson's disease directly affects the autonomic nervous system, and so not going into the in and outs of that right now, but just suffice it to say there's damage done, and a lot of different systems, virtually all the systems of the body are affected by it. So one of those is temperature regulation. That's primarily a brain function in the hypothalamus in the hypothalamic area, and anyway, we've got communication between the body and the brain, saying, you know, we've got sensors in our skin that say, okay, how much heat are we detecting on the outside? And then that signal goes to the brain, and the brain says, "Oh, do we need to constrict the blood vessels? Do we need to dilate them to give off more heat, or do we need to have sweat coming out?" You know, so all those things are being communicated with, obviously, in millions of seconds. But that brain and body connection is broken a little bit with Parkinson's. So you may not get the proper signal to sweat or to dilate blood vessels or so forth when you're exposed to heat. So sure, you can go into an air conditioned room if you get warm, but the point is you could get heat exhaustion or heat stroke without even knowing it's happening with Parkinson's, because you're not detecting the changes as readily as you would otherwise. The other thing is that the heat itself can exacerbate Parkinson's symptoms in some individuals. So you can have increased fatigue, nausea, and vomiting. And some of those kind of actually cross over with heat exhaustion symptoms too. But you can have manifestation of more Parkinson's symptoms, the tremors and the bradykinesia and so forth. So not everybody has that problem, but and again, it's one of those things where if a doctor says, "Oh, poof, that's not a big deal," well, it may not be for some people with Parkinson's, but for other people, it could be life-threatening. So you have to be very aware of that and very careful. And from what I've read about that, it can just be a few degrees of difference in temperature. It doesn't even have to necessarily be the hot summer sun.
Yeah, I'm actually asked out of interest because my own son, he really struggles with heat. And he actually sometimes can have extra movements.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So like
yes.
we heat is actually definitely something we are aware of, and never would I realize heat could impact movement, but it does in his case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, and CP is a different diagnosis, but there's probably some crossover.
Well, he's got the dyskinesia, which is the basal ganglia, kind of deeper
That's
brain
right. You
impact.
said that, but when we talked before,
Yeah.
so that makes perfect sense, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
if the basal ganglia is damaged in some way, that would result in like a domino effect, so to speak, of potentially having some autonomic nervous system issues. So
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything coming through on the actual Q&A that I put up. Steve says he thought he saw a kangaroo hop by the window. Just kidding, he says. That's a good one.
So, not where we live, but my parents used to live somewhere where we always saw them out the window. So it's in Australia, they're very much in certain places, and then they're everywhere if you go there.
That's interesting. It makes sense, though, that
Mm-hmm.
geographically they might be attracted to different areas.
Yeah, dry, well, places that are not urbanized and that have some water sources. They sort of love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man-made, extra water.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if Amanda's with us anymore. She said she had a question a while ago, but I'm not seeing anything.
Well,
So,
Amanda, come into the app on the 21st, and we'll help answer it.
well, and if you happen to come back, and you can put it in the comments on the replay too. So we could get to it hopefully later. But yeah, well, this has been good. I think we've covered the bases, I hope, on the ins and outs, a little bit of the app and why it might be beneficial for the audience on YouTube and the podcast. If you have further questions, put them in now. Forever hold your peace. But any thoughts that you have, Jess, as we wrap things up?
Yeah, I think just anyone who's listening, we would love to have you come in. I mean, I think if you are someone who's interested in staying on top of what's happening in Parkinson's, if you want more ideas, anybody would love to welcome you in, and really hope one of the things that users say is we actually had over 66% of people who use the app have found something new to try. So yeah, if that's something that's interesting to you and you're needing that, we would love to have you come in, and we'd love to hear your feedback. It is really fun building a tech product to solve a really important problem, because we just want to make sure that you're getting value. So yeah, if you're listening, we'd love to welcome you in. But yeah, really appreciate being on here, Michael. I think even just from this experience now, you offer so much value to patients and patient communities. And, I think, yeah, really can't wait to take what you've learned, takes other professionals, and just keep offering that. I think other platforms we use are sometimes optimized for other metrics that aren't always aligned with what patients want. Maybe it's advertising or other things, but in our case, we are building this so that you get the best information that you need at the right time. So yeah, really can't wait to bring you in and to learn with the Parkinson's community.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jess. And I want to emphasize too, this app is free to use, correct?
Yep.
I don't know if there's in-app purchases. I don't think so, but I think it's free to
Yeah. So
download.
we're completely free. Maybe in the future we will, with our AI, some of our extra features can be add-on, but we'll always be the core value will be free. As a patient myself, I believe very strongly in this, and it's part of the value of the company.
Absolutely. Steve said his place in the queue is 1,000 plus.
Oh, the wait list must be doing well.
Yeah, that's
but you'll
awesome.
get straight in.
Yeah, he says thank you both. Thank you, Steve, for being here live and for your being interactive with us tonight. So I appreciate that very much. And yeah, so I appreciate everybody who watched live this evening, or today if you're in a different time dateline.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you being here, and we are going to go ahead and conclude. We will.
Bye.
I'm trying to see if I need to. Okay, I found it. I was trying to figure out how to stop the live stream on YouTube so that you and I can keep.
Gone.
It will be in a second. Yep. Thank you all, everybody, and as always, be empowered. We'll catch you in the next video, or next episode, I should say. Bye-bye.
Bye.